You know what, to start this problem, I think what we should do is just convert this right away to 3x to the 1/3, and then we'll differentiate this function here. So here's the first derivative. We'll get f prime of x equals, now the constant 3 just comes along, bring the 1/3 down, decrease it by 1, we'll show all of it. So f prime of x equals, now these 3's cancel, and we'll get x to the 1/3 minus 1. 1/3 minus 3/3 is negative 2/3. And you know what we might do here is, since we're going to compute something, let's rewrite this as 1 over x to the positive 2/3. Right, get rid of the negative exponent. And then what I'm going to do too is this. Since we started with radicals, I'm going to end with a radical, right? We started up here with a radical, end with a radical, and you know the denominator becomes the index, that's the little number in the corner, and the numerator becomes the exponent. So this is going to give us f prime of x equaling 1 over the cube root of x squared. Here's our derivative, so that's our first derivative. And now let's put an 8 in here, so we're going to get f prime of 8 being 1 over the cube root of 8, but I'm not going to write that 2 in here. I'm going to write it outside. I can write it either way, inside or outside. Easier to compute outside. So this will give us 1 over, see, the cube root of 8. If I do it this way, the cube root of 8 is 2, and then I get 2 squared. If I do it the way it says up here, I'd have to square 8 getting 64, and then guess the cube root of 64, which I can do. I mean, it's 4. So this is going to be 1/4. So what we have then is that f prime of 8 is 1/4. Now let's get the second derivative. So the second derivative, I'm going to work off the first derivative, and I'm going to use it in this form right here. So I'm going to work from this form right here, and I'm going to work from this form right here. That's the most convenient form, right? Because I have a variable to a power. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring the negative 2/3 down and then decrease it by 1. So this is going to be negative 2/3 x to the negative 2/3 minus 1. So f double prime of x is negative 2/3 x to the, now negative 2/3 minus 2/3, negative 5/3. And I think I'm going to write it like this. F double prime of x is negative 2 over 3 x to the positive 5/3, which I can write as negative 2 over 3. Now that this 3 right here in the denominator, that's going to become our index. So it'll be the cube root of x to the 5th. And that 5 can go inside the radical or outside. But here is our second derivative. Now put in an 8. We'll get f double prime of 8 is negative 2 over 3 times the cube root of 8. And I'm going to take that to the 5th. So it's going to be negative 2 over 3 times, now the cube root of 8, right, this part right here, the cube root of 8 is 2. So we'll get 2 to the 5th, negative 2 over, now 2 to the 5th is 32. So we'll get 3 times 32, but then this 2 will go into here 16 times, so here's what we're left with. Negative 1 over 3 times 16 is 48. Okay, so f double prime of 8 is negative 1 over 48. Let me circle that so I don't lose that one.